Do you find that you often have to ask other people's opinions or reassurance regarding decisions that you've made? Reassurance seeking is a common form of intolerance of uncertainty, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how seeking reassurance can be making your worry and anxiety worse. Hi everyone! In today's video, we're going to be continuing our multi-part series of videos on the manifestations of intolerance of uncertainty and how you can build tolerance for uncertainty in your life, thereby reducing worry and anxiety. Today's video, we're going to be talking about how reassurance seeking input, advice, or clarification from other people can actually perpetuate and drive excessive worry and anxiety. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about reassurance seeking. Thing is, human beings tend to be social creatures. We like to be around other people. And part of that is the ability to seek the input and advice from others. Social support is a huge protective factor in coping with anxiety and depression conditions. So it's very common for people to seek reassurance and to seek advice from others to help validate how they're feeling or what they're thinking. However, excessive reassurance seeking can become very problematic, particularly in people who tend to worry excessively. For someone who's anxious and tends to worry a lot, they're likely to engage in a lot of reassurance seeking, seeking input from other people about important or even unimportant decisions in their life. This reassurance seeking can take the form of for example, repeatedly asking your boss how you're performing at work and if your boss is satisfied with the job that you're doing. It can take the form of talking to a friend about an argument that you had with another friend to seek reassurance that you didn't do anything wrong. The reassurance seeking can also take more subtle forms. Suppose I have an argument with my wife, and I'm not sure if she's still angry at me. And I might want to seek some reassurance that we're good, and I do this by dropping a little, "I love you," to see how she responds. If she tells me that she loves me back, then I have some reassurance that we're all good. This reassurance-seeking behavior is sort of a form of information gathering to try and make uncertain situations more certain. It's designed to eliminate uncertainty in vague or ambiguous situations. In the example of me seeking reassurance about my job performance from my boss, it may be that I'm not sure how I'm doing at work. And so if my boss tells me that they're happy with my performance, it gives me certainty that things are going okay with work. If I'm not sure I was overly harsh or inappropriate with my friend, seeking advice or reassurance from another friend can help give me some certainty about how I behave towards my friend or how they might be feeling. This reassurance seeking is aimed at confirming that what I'm concerned about isn't actually happening. It's aimed at eliminating any ambiguity or uncertainty in a situation by getting someone else's input on that situation. So reassurance seeking is just a form of intolerance of uncertainty. But you might be wondering, look, what's so bad about seeking reassurance? Why is it so bad to ask someone else's advice, especially if it can help relieve some of my anxiety about a particular situation? The main problem with reassurance seeking is that it undermines your confidence in yourself. It makes you feel like your judgment isn't accurate And so you need someone else's judgment to confirm what's going on in the situation. Think about it. Think of the most confident people that you know. Are these people who are constantly seeking reassurance from others? Are these people constantly asking other people, what would you have done in that situation? Are these confident people the people who are checking in with their partner to make sure that their partner still cares about them? Probably not. Confident people don't engage in excessive reassurance seeking. People who believe in themselves don't constantly have to seek affirmation or confirmation from other people. This reassurance seeking is also a lot less efficient. If I have to check in with my boss about every task I have to do at work to get reassurance that I'm doing every task the right way, that's going to make me a lot slower in getting my work done. And this is probably unnecessary if I'm actually qualified and competent in doing my job. So this isn't to say that you should never seek reassurance or never seek the input of other people. However, it's important to recognize that this is all a matter of how often you're needing to seek the reassurance and the nature of the reassurance you're seeking. If you're constantly having to check in with your boss and just have them confirm that what you're doing is the right thing, that's probably excessive reassurance seeking. And it's a good sign that that's probably a form of intolerance of uncertainty. Whereas, if your motivation for checking in with your boss about how to do something is because you genuinely don't know how to do it, that's not a form of intolerance of uncertainty. That's a reasonable seeking of input from someone who knows more about a topic than you do. So if you find yourself doing a lot of reassurance seeking and you recognize that it's a form of intolerance of uncertainty, the question becomes, what can you do about it? Well, the first step is what we just talked about, which is recognizing when you're engaging in reassurance seeking as a form of intolerance of uncertainty versus the reasonable seeking out of input and advice from other people. Once you recognize that you're engaging in excessive reassurance seeking, the next step is to think about behavioral experiments that you can do that involve reducing or eliminating the amount of reassurance seeking that you're actually engaging in. Now, this doesn't have to be a huge step, but it can be smaller, subtle changes in behavior in which you do something without then seeking reassurance from someone else afterwards. When I talk about behavioral experiments to build tolerance for uncertainty, essentially what I'm talking about is testing the accuracy of your worry. So for example, a behavioral experiment could be something along the lines of me cooking a meal that I've never prepared before without seeking input, advice, or reassurance from my wife before I cook the meal. The experiment is to just go by the recipe, make the meal myself, and see how it turns out. That's the behavioral experiment. The next step is to think about what I worry is going to happen in that situation. This is my prediction of what I'm worried will happen if I make the meal that I've never made before. So the idea here is to reconceptualize or to think about your worries as predictions, because really that's all worry is. It's just a prediction. So in this situation, my worry prediction may be something like, I'm totally going to screw up dinner and burn everything, and my wife is going to be really disappointed in me. Or I'm going to make a meal that ends up tasting awful and that my wife is going to be upset with me because if I had talked to her about it ahead of time, she would have told me that's a terrible recipe. I may end up making a meal that seems to turn out well, but my wife hates it because it's got pineapple in it, and I didn't know that she hates pineapple, but I would have known that if I had run the recipe past her first. These are my worry predictions of what's going to happen if I cook this meal. So we have the experiment, we have my prediction, and so the next step is to actually make the meal and see what happens. This is the data collection step in the tolerating uncertainty experiment. By collecting the data, I have evidence that I can now compare to my worry prediction. And that's the final step, comparing what actually happened when I made the meal to my prediction of what I thought was going to happen when I made the meal. Maybe what I find is that my wife really enjoyed the meal and is so happy that I stepped out and tried something different without asking her about it first. And the thing is, if you find over and over and over again that what your worry predicts is going to happen never actually happens, then that probably suggests that your worries are pretty terrible predictors of the future. By doing these types of behavioral experiments, you can begin to question how necessary it is to seek reassurance from other people before making decisions, or to seek their reassurance to confirm what you did in a particular situation. And as a result, it helps build your confidence because you're trusting your own judgment rather than having other people confirm your judgment for you. The other thing that you can do on a day-to-day basis, on sort of everyday basis, is to take advantage of naturally occurring opportunities to tolerate uncertainty. To do this, what I encourage people to do is to imagine the following question tattooed to the frontal lobe of their brain. So they have to filter their world through this question. And the question is, if I were more tolerant of uncertainty, what would I do in this situation? And so I like them to think about this question, to help process their world through the question as a filter and a guide for their behavior. If I were more tolerant of uncertainty, would I ask my teacher that clarifying question even though I'm 95% sure I understand it? If I were more tolerant of uncertainty, would I ask multiple friends what they thought of my presentation at that workshop? If I were more tolerant of uncertainty, would I ask my wife repeatedly if she's upset at me about something? These types of things give you opportunities to engage in small tolerating uncertainty experiments on a day-to-day basis in which you're not engaging in reassurance-seeking behavior. And in doing so, these little day-to-day experiments help build your tolerance for uncertainty. So I hope that provides you with a bit more information and understanding about how reassurance seeking is a form of intolerance of uncertainty, and how reassurance seeking behaviors can perpetuate and worsen worry and anxiety. The key is to catch yourself when you're doing it, to catch yourself when you're engaging in the reassurance seeking, to then try and reduce those reassurance seeking behaviors, and then see what happens. I hope that makes sense. I would love to hear any comments or questions that you have about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.